Hi, if you're using Bash as your default shell in the command line on Linux or any Unix like operating systems, um, you might want to sometimes customize and run some commands before printing the prompt string. Each time before a prompt string is printed, you want to run some command of your choice. And if you're using Bash, it's quite easy to do it. You can just set one environment variable called prompt underscore command. I will show you how it can be done. You can just use, if you just look at the default value for prompt command, if it's just there here, this might not be set in most of your default shell profiles provided by your distribution, right? Unless you install some special software like Starship or Bash Git prompt, or if you're using maybe power level 10K for Z shell. So they might customize these commands, but on your standard shell, this is not set. But you set this particular variable, if you just use prompt underscore command, like this. Maybe I'll just use a simple command like date, right? You can see that every time before a prompt is printed, the date command is executed, right? As you can see here. So it prints the date command before the prompt string is printed. So it can be for any command. You can run clear, you can run ls, you can run pwd, you can run uptime, you can run who am I. So any commands you run before it prints the prompt string, you can see the output of date command is what comes up right here. So you can customize this the way you want. In fact, this need not have to be some external commands or bash built-ins, but it can also be your own shell functions that you could have created maybe in your bash profiles or bash rc script. For example, I have created a simple shell function in my .bash rc, which I will just show you right here. I'll do a cat tilde slash .bash rc. Okay, the cat command is actually batcat. You can see that I've created a small function here. At the end of the .bash rc, you can see I created a function called prompt info. You can give this function any name of your choice. This will be the command, your custom command of your choice. And this can be any logic. What I'm trying to do is I want to get the exit status of the last run command and print some lines, and it prints last command. If exit status in 0, then it'll print successful in green color. By the way, this $green and $color off, all these are sourced via my own custom shell profiles, which represents colors using the ANSI coloring scheme, right? So you get that easily when you search for it. You can also see echo minus NE, and here you can see for failed, but if the exit status is non-zero, and below you can also see that, it prints the exit status too, and prints date and uptime followed by some line here. So this is a function. Now what I can do here is I can just use prompt underscore command equals maybe prompt underscore info, which is the custom command I created as a shell function. It can be a shell function, shell alias, built-in commands of bash shell, or you can have a long command pipeline right here. And that will work, right? So you can see that every time I run any command, you can see it prints this details. This is because that function is called, the prompt info function is called, and the output of that is what is printed here. You can run any command. Let's say if I run ls, it runs ls command. If you say ls and give some path that doesn't exist, right? You can see it says last command failed with exit status 2. So, and it also prints the current date, and it runs the uptime command. This is the output of uptime command that you see here. So you can customize to your liking any way you want. There are other things that people might want to do is that before a prompt string is printed, you want to check whether the current directory has a .git folder. If it has a .git folder, then you want to just run git status, or maybe git commit, or any git commands, right? If you're using git version control. So I can also write a small one-liner to do it right here. I'll just show you a quick demonstration here. So I can just do this. I can just use prompt underscore command equals, let me just clear the screen, and I can just use test minus d dot git. Check if there's a .git folder in the current location. If it is there, double ampersand. If it's found, that is like the command pipeline used as a shortcut. If the first command evaluates to success, right? If it's found, then I want to run maybe git status here. Now with this being done, currently nothing happens because this folder is not a git repository. You'll not find a .git folder in here. There's no .git in this location. But to go to certain folders, like I said, go to code. I have some dummy source codes here. And within this code, if I just go to, let's say, Linux kernel, for example, nothing happens even here because, as you can see, this is not a Git repository. But the moment I enter this particular folder, simple IR GPIO IRQ handle, it's writing a small device driver here, and you can see that every time I run this on main branch, nothing to commit, working tree clean. So it means that it's already been committed. But then if I touch some file, let's say, a.c, you can see that every time I get a prompt string, the git status is this is a trick that is used by various programs or tools that sort of beautify your prompt string. If you're using Starship, or if you're using, like say, bash git prompt or many other kinds of projects, they actually modify two variables. One is ps1, which will change this prompt string itself, and they might also set prompt underscore command to run some commands to find out the status of the current directory and find out what version of Python you're using and what version of C compiler you're using, and print all those icons automatically. So this is a technique that they use. But there's also another way you can run custom commands without using prompt underscore command. That is done by a hack with the ps1 variable itself. I will show you how that can be done too. For example, I'll just unset the prompt string here. Unset prompt underscore command, that is. Now, nothing is set. I just removed that particular setting. So $prompt underscore command is not set at this moment. But there is a variable called ps1, which is responsible for printing the primary prompt string that you see here for all the shells, right? Most of the Bone compatible shells. The primary prompt string is set by a special variable called ps1, including bash. So if you just do $ps1, this is a default setting that comes on my Linux setup that runs on Debian, that is Raspberry Pi OS. It's a fork of Debian for Raspberry Pi board, to which I'm actually connected to. So this prints all these things like, it tries to check whether your Debian ch root is being set. If it is, it prints the value of ch root, and then also prints as what user logged in, at what host name, and all the colors, right? The ANSI colors escape sequence are being used for green, I believe. And then it also prints the current working directory, followed by the $prompt. Now, let me just show you an example here. So I just use ps1 equals, let me keep it very simple. I'll just use just a $sign here. That's it. I just changed my ps1 variable. It prints a $sign, right? I can also use ps1 equals, maybe I can just use, so open square bracket and then /u at /h and then :/w close square bracket $, like this. This is a kind of prompt string that was set earlier with some colors, right? I did not use any colors or so on. For now, in this ps1 variable, if at all I use single quotes like this, and then within the single quote string, if I use $, open parenthesis, date, close parenthesis, right? Followed by space perhaps, and close the single quotes. You should note that if you want to use this kind of a sequence, I guess you know what this is. In bash, this is command substitution. So if you use a command substitution within single quotes, set it to the ps1 variable, you almost get a similar behavior like using the prompt underscore command semantics. So when you see this now, before the prompt string is printed, date is also printed. You can see the date is getting updated every time I press enter here for every command. Okay, I type CLS. Okay, done work, didn't work. Date and maybe uptime. Who am I? Right? So you can see a date is being prefixed with the ps1. So within the ps1 variable, you can also use this command sequence where you can use $of any command of your choice. It can be any complex command with pipes and pipelines. You can also use that, and the prompt string as such. So this is another technique to run some custom command before printing the prompt string. Either you can use prompt underscore command is equal to whatever command you want to run, or you can also use the command substitution semantics within the ps1 variable. If you use the ps1 variable, there's also one common mistake that you might do as a beginner. I will show you what that is not using single quotes, but using double quotes. I'll tell you what happens. For example, if at all I just type PS1 is equal to, I'll use double quotes, dollar of date like this for now, and I'll just print a dollar prompt. Okay, just a simple, I can put a backslash dollar here. Okay, dollar prompt. Now I think it's working, right? I just closely observe when I press enter one more time, you can see that seconds is not getting updated. You can see it's not updated to the current date. That means the date command is not getting executed every time a prompt string is printed. So what really happened was, when I say PS1 is equal to within double quoted string, when I use dollar of date, the date command substitution got applied during this assignment, right? And then what really happened was, the actual value of $PS1 is the output of command substituted as is. It looks not very intuitive, because you can see when I say echo $PS1, the value of PS1 is this string that you see here, right? The string that you see here. This may not be what you want. You want to run the date command every time your PS1 is evaluated by the shell prompt, right? In such case, if you use the single quoted string this way with the command substitution, now this will work as expected. You can see that it prints the current date now. I'm just going to press enter one more time. You can see the seconds will be updated from 55 seconds to whatever it is right now. Yeah, it's already crossed a couple of seconds. You can see this. Every time you keep pressing enter, you can see the seconds getting updated, right? Which means the date command is getting executed every time before the prompt string is printed, because when you represent a string in single quotes in your shell prompt, I guess you know that the dollar substitutions are not applied at that moment. It'll be evaluated every time before a prompt string is printed. So if we say echo $1, $PS1, this is what it is. It is still dollar of date. Unlike before, the shell, when you executed the command, the command substitution happened at that instant, and the output is just substituted in place as is. But this time, it retains the dollar of date to be evaluated every time the prompt string is going to be printed, right? So in summary, I just told you there are two ways you can run any custom commands before printing a prompt string. One, setting the prompt underscore command variable in bash, or two, using command substitution within a single quoted string for PS1, right? I hope you found this video useful. If you really learned something from this video, do hit on the like button and do share and do subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you. If you're interested in my detailed training videos in course format, do visit my profile on udemy.com. The link to the same is in this video description. If you live in India or willing to pay by Indian rupees for my paid training courses, you also have the option to enroll on /prog.com. The link to the same is also in this video description.